Hey, what's going on, guys? Brunico here, bringing you the last Guardian video. This is The Last Guardian, created by OutsiderXE, and I neglected to show the boss fight at the end of Chapter 7. This is just an error with the edit. I forgot to edit in that last little section, so this short video is just going to be a part 2 to that video. I've since updated to the latest patch of Warcraft 3, and so far as I can tell, nothing has been broken, so let's get right on with it. We've just opened up the secret room. We're going to go fight Medivh with statue combat rules. Bit of a spoiler, I suppose, if you haven't seen it. Hello, young trust. I've been expecting you. It was inspired, I must say. Inspired to summon the shadow of my past, a peace that would stop me from pursuing you. Of course, while you were out gathering your strength, I was out gathering my own. That net model looks really strange. It's like a segmented insect or something. Very weird. Anyways, here we are, fighting Medivh. We've got our rules up here. So, what do we got? Upo Usker. What's that counted by? The opposite of Richard Lewis. Leverolio. And Uporolio is... Oh, that's one of the first ones. Medivh's going back to the beginning of what we learned. I feel like if this mechanic wasn't literally like a hard counter game, where it's just rock, paper, scissors, except you know all the rules, and you're not both drawing at the same time, it's like a turn-based thing. It's like if it really is like if rock, paper, scissors had a couple of extra options, but you saw what your opponent was pulling out in advance. It's like, well, in that case, it's like, where's the, what's the point? So I understand why it wasn't included in earlier missions, right? It doesn't make any sense for something like that. Here, let me toggle the camera so we're looking at the right angle. What did he just do? Renarolio? And so yeah, I understand why it wasn't done, but at the same time, I can't help but wonder, like, why include it at all if it's going to be half-assed to this extent? And you know, I've talked a long time. I've talked about like gimmicks and stuff, so it should come as no surprise to me, to anybody rather, that I'm not really enjoying this one. Magus, whatever has happened, I'm sure it can be fixed. Why should I fix it? All goes as planned. The orcs will slay the humans, and I will control them through warlock chiefs like Gul'dan. I will lead them to Sargeras' body, and my form will be free. You are Sargeras. Yes and no. I am. For when Egwene killed my physical body, I hid within her womb. Monstrous. It seems your trust was misplaced after all, and now you get to die. And then he cooms me. So it looks like Garona Wind walks out of here, although the sound cue doesn't play. So I don't really know what's going on with that. I think she leaves because the whole king thing. What is Levelairdis? I'm blind. I can't even see. Oh, there we go. So now we start to forget what counters what, which is an interesting tactic there. These top three that we forgot immediately can just be referenced by looking at this. But I'm old. I seem to be forgetting. Must be really strange to just suddenly be old. That would be very strange. What is Levelairdis? Oh, that's right on here. Rene Usker. Ha! I'm old, but I have a note card. Richard Lewis coming in clutch. Yeah, we should have this in the bag. I mean, even if we missed a couple of times, we would, I highly doubt we would be in any dangerous territory. Oh, this is where you get to use Richard Lewis to finish it off! My man! Support Richard Lewis's content, by the way. Just gets easier. Don't even blink. So it comes to this. I think that the human part of you, Medivh, kept others around despite your own plans, as a backup, as a plan for when you finally went mad, so your friends could put you down, so we could break the cycle where you could not. I never really meant to harm anyone. I only wanted to have my own life. Thank you. I fought it for as long as I could. We need to go. That line seems very out of place to me because they just killed this guy and I don't know. I must bury what's left of Medivh. I should find Garona. She couldn't have gone far. It couldn't have been helped, you know. We tried to alter it, but it was all part of a greater scheme. I know. All part of a greater cycle. A cycle that now at last may be broken. Okay. So, obviously a very short video, but I hope that you guys have enjoyed the playthrough. I think that this campaign does a lot of interesting things that I haven't seen in the space of Warcraft 3, and even though I'm not very fond of the mechanics that get added in and take center stage, like time stop gets added in, I think, at the 5th mission, and then you sort of see it used occasionally throughout the 5th, 6th, and 7th maps. 7th map only used it once. Then you have like the portal thing that's only used once in this map, but is used almost like that is the center stage mechanic when it's introduced in the 6th mission. And then obviously the whole statue combat thing, like it's not very robust as a mechanic in its own right, but it also is like the only map you'll ever see it in is this, so it's a little strange in that department. I've already expounded a little bit more about this campaign in my post-play review. I always put those in the Google Drive link, which can be accessed by joining my Discord server. It's somewhere in the Artism section, I believe. And the main idea of the review is that I ended up recommending it because of all the things that it does that are, you know, very alien to the space, very strange and new. And I think it does break new ground in some respect, and that is worth experiencing anyways, even if you only play a couple of maps or whatever. I highly suggest that people check this out because it shows that you can do some very unconventional things with Warcraft 3, and I think Outsider does actually care about the campaigns that he puts out, regardless of whether or not I end up agreeing with his design decisions. So when you look at something like The Last Guardian, basically any book is going to have a much smaller scale story, especially if it's like a traditional novel that's not particularly long. Like obviously everybody's going to point out like Lord of the Rings and stuff, which are pretty large scale. But most of the time you'll be revolving around a specific cast of characters. It'll be very personal and insular, and even if it's part of a larger universe, you know, it'll mostly, you know, deal with those specific characters. I think probably Dune is another example where maybe it uses the characters as like a jump off point for like the larger scale of the story, but I haven't read Dune, so I don't know for sure. It's just like an educated guess based on how I've heard people talk about it. So for something like this, it feels like the story was incredibly small, even though you're dealing with some potentially world-ending events if Sargeras gets his form back. But we're never, at least in the way that it's explained in here, in this campaign, we're never explained like what the stakes are. We don't really know why we should be rooting for Ronan or Khadgar. Sorry, wrong campaign. And at the same time, I feel like honestly, there's no real antagonist throughout most of the campaign, and then you only later on find out that it's Medivh in the 5th mission. And obviously Garona showing up midway through, it was cool to have a new hero to use, and I feel like if the mechanics were more intertwined around some elements of timing and execution, but also especially like cooperation between the two heroes, I would have thought that would be really cool. Like I like the fact that you could transfer items and steal items with Garona and that sort of stuff. I would have liked to see that played up a little bit more. But I don't know what Outsider's planning to do with this campaign. I think he said he's updating Day of the Dragon first. So we'll see what order he intends to go for and what changes he intends to make. But that's the extent of my experience with the campaign. So those are all the words I'm going to say about it. And as for what I play next, might be Legends of Arcane, might be a turn row campaign, I'm not sure. I gotta do some research and figure out what works on this patch and what doesn't. And that'll be all. So, yeah, see you guys next time.